Travel is more than just ticking off countries. It's about the people, the culture, the food, the moments. I'm Pippa Hudson, and on Wonder the World, I invite you to join me every week as we explore destinations both near and far, with the help of fellow adventurers who share their unique travel stories. Listen to my podcast wherever you get them.
702.
Live
On the Prime Media Plus app.
DSTV channel 856.
92.7.
And 106 FM. Let's walk the talk.
Good morning to you and you and you. It's 7 minutes past 9. I'm Tshidi Madia, standing in for Clement Manyathela this week. I really desperately wanted to open this show by screaming "Kabuyelo," but alas, it was not to be. It's another Monday morning. I hope it's off to a good start for you, at least. I was really sad for the Downs. I wanted Sundowns to win last night. I watched the game. I think I'm tired because I watched the game and I was left depressed by the game. I was definitely angry with Grant Kekana because I think that not clearing of the ball then, right, cost us. I definitely had questions about Themba Zwane, and I saw some of you also echoing the sentiments on social media. I want to hear your thoughts about that match. I saw a lot of people unhappy about the coach. Also, if you are a Kaizer Chiefs fan, let me tell you now, yeah? You lot, you are celebrating what happened to the Pyramids win. Aye, man, Lapora. I was so irritated by the Kaizer Chiefs fans last night. I'll share more of my thoughts on that during the open line. And of course, as per usual, we kick off with the open line.
702.
Let's walk the talk on 92.7
and 106 FM.
My heart, like I said, bleeds. Yeah? Like Yalla for my Sandawana. I would have really loved to play the song for you today. I would have loved to open by saying Kabuyelo, shout out for the Brazilians, but this was not to be. Sundowns' campaign in the CAF final resulted in a 2-1 defeat to the Pyramid FC in Cairo last night. Was anyone surprised? I was. If I listen to commentators, they didn't think that the Pyramids, based on the level of play or quality or qualifications of the other teams, that they could actually get their hands on the trophy, but they did last night. That first goal, I saw a lot of anger towards Grant Kekana. Why did he not clear the ball? What is his role there by defense if he's not going to do that? A lot of complaints about the selection of the team. I'm not the greatest soccer fundi. I just understand bits and pieces. So I do know a lot of complaints about the coach have come through. A lot of people not happy about the selection of the team. People asking why is Themba Zwane not there. There's also a conversation, I think, about Mutiba saying that this was his first game, if I understood correctly. And how is it that the person's first game for Sundowns is a final? Why would a coach make a decision like that? So there's a lot of complaints. I want to understand your assessment. There was a really beautiful take on the game by Matselane Mamabolo. I think I saw it on the IOL that pretty much said, the flirtation must continue for Sundowns. That this is a courting game, the CAF championship for this team, at least until the bell of the ball walks down the aisle. Mama Bolo writes that, she's agreed to the Lobola negotiations this time around, but the uncles balked at the offer for their niece leaving Sundowns to return home and to strategize once more that Sundowns must not lose faith, must continue trying to push that boundary to get that star, right? I do know that they've got a club. I think they've got to still go to the Club World Cup, and they need to focus on that in the US. Like I said, people complain about Lebo Mutiba, about Grant Kekana. Themba Zwane was an issue for a lot of people, saying that it's personal. There's a lot of back and forth around that. What is your take? 011-883-0702, 072-702-1702 for WhatsApps and voice notes.
702.
Let's walk the talk on 92.7
and 106 FM.
Lots of views coming in on that one already. Here's some of your WhatsApps.
Hey TD, no, it's not all of us. Some of us were chief supporters, but when you go outside the country, we're patriotic. So yeah, a Sundowns loss is a loss of all of us. I didn't watch. I watched only the second half of the game, and after the second goal, I just left. But I think this is you know what? It's the results of taking away, of firing Rulani. You know, that guy was a tactician. So taking him out, yeah, we've seen ever since he left the team, it hasn't been well as it was. But those are internal politics. We'll leave them to the Chlorocop boys. Otherwise, yeah, next time.
Good morning, 702, Zandi here. I would just like to say congrats to Pyramids. They fixed the country. Thank you, Pyramids. We now have peace this morning. Thank you. Happy Monday, everyone.
Ha! They fixed what country? Yeah? I'm currently the queen of country duty. And no, guys, I disagree. How do they fix the country? And I'm glad that somebody's like, oh, it's not all of us just play. Guys, country duty. I saw you guys laughing last night. And I was like, Maralizarang, you climb up boys of Befeni. That's not right. In this moment, you must be aligned. That's what country duty dictates. Hear more of your voice notes.
Good morning, Tshidi. I think that coach is not good enough for Sundowns. I'm a Kaizer Chiefs fan, but he broke my heart last night. Especially by benching Shishi, like Tembazwan. That guy is an engine of the team. You cannot bench that guy. The way he did things, he was playing the guy who never played even one match of the Betway Premier League, Lebo Mtiba. What was he thinking? As South Africans, let's put aside our differences as Kaizer Chiefs, Pirates, and Sundowns fans. I think the Sundowns was representing the country, not only their brand. So I think that coach is not good enough for Sundowns.
Hi, Tshidi Madia. This is Anonymous from Rodipot. In all honesty, yes, we are crying for Sundowns, but Sundowns was not playing like the Brazilians as we know them, in all honesty. Because if you look at Pyramid in Egypt itself, the soccer team, they are not one of the big fours or so. So Sundowns, to be honest, they should have won that game. Serious.
Thank you so much. I did feel yesterday was a little bit flat. I've seen more exciting play from Sundowns. I don't watch soccer that often, but I know soccer enough to follow and to know when a match is exciting. And I wasn't excited. And I remember thinking, okay, let's get through the first half. Maybe the urgency will come into play in the second half. And I couldn't get it. And there have been a lot of complaints about Lebo Mutiba, that this person, it's his first game and you put him in a final. How is that the decision? A lot of questions about how decisions are being made. There's an earlier voice note that spoke about Rulani Mokoena. Yeah, I think that there must be a moment where you pause and they realize that maybe there's a loss there. This particular coach, by the way, Miguel Kodosa, had actually lost the CAF final with a different team. I think it was Esperanza, if I'm correct, before a year or so ago. So I do, like I said, I know bits and pieces of what's happening. Thank you so much. 072-702-1702 for more voice notes and WhatsApps on that. 011-883-0702. But I'm also open to whatever else you want to raise. It is your open line. It is your segment. You set the tone of the conversation for us. I see Mel in Midrand. Good morning to you.
Hello.
Good morning, Mel. What's on your mind?
Yes. Thank you, Tshidi. I want to speak about something different. The Minister of Higher Education, her appearance in Parliament.
Yeah.
I was very, very much disturbed, and I took time to watch the entire proceedings. And I would like to make an appeal. I guess everybody. So if you have not seen, just make yourself favor and just look at this minister. This morning, Bongani just put the last nail on the coffin with Kabazela when they were playing that clip of her responding to Parliament with something that sounds like a mouthful of food or whatever that she was eating. I think she forgets that she's not responding to the committee. She's responding to us, the people of South Africa, on something that is very, very topical, skills development in South Africa. For her to sit there while we are paying her salary and refuse to name the people that are advising her. These people are not advising her personal business. They are advising South African Inc. Corporation. So, media, you run with stories successfully, be it good ones, be it bad ones. Help us. ANC tells us they're doing performance agreement with the ministers.
Yeah.
We have never seen that. I saw something, the deputy president saying ministers that are not performing must go. This is their agenda.
How
They
do we
put
know,
her there.
Mel? I
They're
agree
not
with
gonna-
you. How do we know about performance when the president says, yes, I'm doing it, and refuses to dive out, refuses to take the country into his confidence
Exactly.
about how he rates the performance of his ministers? Thank you so much, Mel.
So- Let's take it into our hands, Tshidi. You as a media, help us. How do we show an example with ministers such as this one of education? Do a petition to say the minister must go. Honestly, she disrespected us as the Republic of South Africa. I don't know how we can do that, but please, let's start it. Let's show an example with these arrogant ministers of ANC.
Now, thank you so much. That's Mel out in Midrand. I think you taking to the platform to also air your views is part and parcel of how you hold them responsible, that they know how people feel. And hopefully that's the kind of pressure that is required in holding these people, these ministers accountable. Why it has to be like this, I actually don't know. She's taken to social media last night to try and defend herself. If you missed that clip, that's got everybody upset about the way she carried herself when she eventually appeared in Parliament. Remember, there was the issue about the CETA boards where you had ANC-riddled boards across the board itself being appointed and people questioning how this happened. So she had to be hauled before the Higher Education Committee, and the clip that appears to have gone viral is where she looks like she's chewing gum. I'm not sure what's going on, but take a short listen. If you missed it this morning, Bongani played it. Just take a quick listen to that engagement between her and Nobuhle Nkabane, the Higher Education Chairperson.
What makes in your own view, Minister, what makes a person credible? When you say this one, Tebogo Chair is credible or is not credible, what makes him credible in your own view? Minister?
What makes a person credible, Chair, is exactly how it is defined when you Google. By encyclopedia, you'll see what it means. It's exactly that.
You are not going to answer us. You are not going to answer us, Minister.
I've responded, Chairperson.
When you Google, that's what you get. And so that's the issue that was raised. Her issue is she's seen eating, because you must go look at the clip. It is, you ask yourself, what arrogance is this? Like, what chicken arrogance is this that you're showing us as a minister? But her issue is, and if you look at her social media and her responding, like she made things worse. That's what I felt yesterday. But she goes on Twitter and she says, I spent the entire morning and most of the afternoon in the portfolio committee meeting engaging with MPs on matters affecting higher education and training. She then says the chair gave members permission to eat while proceedings continued. I was present, committed to answering questions. She goes on to say claims that I was rude or disrespectful are false and based on misleading clips taken out of context. I did not disrupt the process. I respect the work of Parliament and remain fully accountable to the committee and the South African public. Google encyclopedia sounds absolutely, Minister, that you understand what accountability looks like, sounds like, eh? And that's my issue that with some of the people you put in positions of leadership, right? So this is about the CETA boards. I had a conversation a few weeks ago with the NC Chief Whip, Mtumseni Ntuli, about the caliber of people appointed to these positions. How is it that a minister can have approve of a list of boards where it's ANC leaders across the board? And it feeds into the suggestion that because they have a lesser say, a role, and hold of government, they're now finding places for cadres, right? And it's the boards. That's what that list suggested. And she couldn't figure out what the issue was until she was supposedly reprimanded by the president. She refused to answer the properly when Sihle Lonzi asked it. When the public is outraged, she still doesn't get it. She's answering about eating in the clip. Never mind the fact that she failed to account. But I want you to listen to what Mdumiseni Ntuli, also of the ANC, said about the initial issue and the minister is dealing with it.
I mean, the way in which the composition of that, those chairpersons, it was inevitable that there was going to be a negative reaction towards it. Not because of Comrade Mandashe's son. Generally,
many names were
the makeup
there.
of the list is very well known ANC comrades. Sure, they qualify to be there, well educated, with an experience. But in a society where many people are unemployed, are concerned about a party that appears to take care of itself ahead of the population, the optics were not good. It's inevitable that we're going to be subjected to negative publicity about it.
What does it say about a minister who can't see that, though? Because she would have seen the list. And if that doesn't cross her mind, what does that say?
Look, I think I would imagine that it's a lesson for her. I mean, I interacted with her to understand how did this thing happen. She had set up a panel which dealt with the shortlisting, conducted the entire process and made recommendations to her. Obviously, I would imagine as a minister, when that came before her, and it says it is recommended here, Mdumiseni is recommended here, I think the first reaction would be,
hi guys,
sure they qualify, but what may be, a negative consequence that follows us on the basis that we're going to appoint it. So I think the judgment that she made at that point, was too much into the side of an error.
That's Mdumiseni Ntuli, the ANC's chief whip. He was speaking to me on my podcast, Politicking with Tshidi Madia, a few weeks ago, after the CETA board shock had happened. And my argument is, she didn't learn anything. He said there she would learn. That's a few weeks ago. Then she goes to Parliament and she shows us how little she's learned from having the president call her out, from having the public be outraged. She continues in that particular vein. She believes she's answered the questions that were put to her by the committee. She didn't. It's not about chewing rudely while you spoke. No, that's one of the issues. It's not about that. It is the inability to actually be held accountable. It's the inability to recognize that you're not there to serve yourself and the patronage networks. But by the way, when you look at that list, I am going to throw this in there. When you look at that list and you look at who had been appointed across the boards, those different boards, you must think of 2027. I want you to do it with 2027 in mind. Because part of what's happening is people are putting in the building blocks towards the ANC's conference. That's actually what's at play. They will not say it, they'll pretend to deny it, but we can see it. We are not blind. Those with eyes to see can see exactly what's happening. Here are more of your voice notes.
Hi, my name's Tshidi. Tapa from Boxburg here. Just to touch base on what Mel said about the Minister of Higher Education. Like, I watched the video this past weekend and I was so shocked. But then again, I remember it doesn't start with her, man. We've seen videos and pictures of MPs sleeping in parliament while the parliament is in session, and then you wonder to yourself, this person is at work, but he's sleeping or she's sleeping. What can you say?
Morning, Tshidi. Mapari here, Report. Both my teams lost this weekend. Inter lost 5, Sundowns lost. Now this minister. One thing we know, Tshidi, there's nothing Ramaphosa is going to do. Nothing. That's what happens when no consequences at all. She knows her. Brasilia, Teddy, cupcake, not gonna do anything. So, what's the point of answering? Google.
Hi, morning, Tshidi. You know, immediately when I saw that clip of that minister, immediately to my mind came the COVID era. You know, I remembered that premier from Mpumalanga, you know, during COVID, where they were with the former deputy president, Mabuza. You know, the woman went up to the podium, sauntering, showing off her new hairstyle, her makeup, you know, all the things, disregarding the use of, what do you call it again, mask. And, you know, up to this date, that thing was just brushed off, you know, it was a non-event. Because why? Like Suprema Humapelo once said, appointed a minister in South Africa or a position of leadership, you are just as good as king. Whatever you do, people shouldn't, you know, question. That's the rub of the matter. Rob.
Thank you so much, Rob, for that. And that's an important point to raise, right? One of the voices was saying, Daddy Cyril, Daddy Cupcake won't do anything. I don't think it should be that. And I think there's a WhatsApp here, because people keep saying, oh, we shouldn't be surprised. This is how they've always behaved. But I think this WhatsApp from Jablisile from Midrand speaks to what I now am understanding. It says, ANC minister still arrogant after falling below 50%. They feel so entitled to positions, yet very incompetent. We are going to punish them again in next year's elections. That's why one would hope that ministers would have behaved better, differently even. Because you know what? You are in politics not for nothing. But what do you do with it? What do you do with it? And for me, it's not about the politics per se. It's about understanding that you are servicing people, right? I know I am pushing it, but I want to play one quick one before I go to news.
This is the ANC we are dealing with. This is the ANC minister. We are talking about here, Minister of Higher Education. So, sorry, the ANC will do anything in its power, I think, to poke its fingers into the eyes of the Republic and make sure that they just destroy our reputation. I don't know why they have that mindset. Thanks, Tshidi. Tabo Petrand.
Thank you so much. By the way, I'm not saying all ministers are bad, all ANC ministers are bad, but what we are seeing in the higher education minister cannot be the example of what to be. Dr. Nobuhle Nkabane, even her explanations are very removed from what her role is meant to be. Very soon, trust, she will not be able to set foot in those institutions of higher learning. A lot of people have been saying that to me. A few of my friends saying this attitude is going to lead to this woman not being allowed on those grounds. Students are not going to want to hear from this woman, and I wouldn't blame them at all. I'm a little bit late, but here's Mbali with your headlines.
7:02.
Let's walk the talk on 92.7
and 106 FM.
9:36, you listen to the Clement Manyathela Show. Tshidi Madia in for Clement this week. So if you've been listening to the bulletins, there's a lot of talk about a tragic incident that's happened involving an MP of the IFP. And the party itself believes that what happened to the MP over the weekend is actually an assassination. Tragic news there in the EWN updates. They're coming from the party. One of the party's MPs, Katamabala Sitole, has been killed. He's the deputy chair, of course, also of the Communications Committee in Parliament. The party has labeled this an assassination. I understand that he was killed on Saturday at a hostel in Katlehong. 2 others were injured, including Gauteng Secretary Alko Ngobese, who's currently in hospital. There have been condolences coming literally from across the political spectrum. The IFP itself, as I said, is insisting that this incident is an assassination. I'm joined on the line quickly by Alko Ngobese, who is an IFP councillor, just to understand a little bit of what actually happened. Baba Alko, good morning to you. And first of all, condolences to you, the Sitole family, as well as the IFP family at large. Thank you so much for your time.
And thanks for having me, and good morning to your listeners as well.
You're currently in hospital, but can you tell us what actually happened when you were in Katlehong? Why was the IFP leadership in Katlehong over the weekend?
Well, we were in Katlehong, specifically in Weafuti Hostel. We had a political program, to inaugurate a branch in Buyafuti. And while we were just, standing outside the marquee, chatting, and we were just attacked out of nowhere. People just opened fire on us.
The party believes it's an assassination. You stand by that? You believe that this was a targeted killing? It had nothing to do with any other motive except for...
Can you please repeat your question, ma'am?
I was asking you about the assassination aspect of it, because the IFP believes it is an assassination. Do you believe this was specifically targeted at him, or could it have been any of you who are also with him there?
Well, it could be any of us who were there at that time. So for now, we're going to leave everything to the law enforcement agencies to find the perpetrators.
And then in terms of motive, from where you stand, what could be the problem? What could cause somebody to want to kill one of your own?
Well, as I said, for now, I don't want to speculate because the law enforcement agencies are busy on the ground. So we don't want to speculate. We don't know the motive, but I don't think it's political, to be honest with you. I don't think it's political, but let's allow the law enforcement agencies to do their work.
I'm glad you said you don't think it's political, because we do tend to see quite a peak, a spike in what are labeled as political killings when we move closer to local government elections. And the other question mark people have had is that the IFP has a conference coming up. So for you, none of these could be at play.
Not at all, ma'am. As far as I'm concerned, none of the above can be at play. We don't have any political intolerance, whether internally or externally. So the issue of politics, I think it's really doesn't come to play as we speak.
Thank you so much for your time, Pa. I'm wishing you a quick recovery as well there. Thank you for your time.
Thanks so much, ma'am.
All right. That was Alko Ngobes, an IFP councillor. He's also one of the people who was there outside that Katlehong hospital where an IFP MP was killed. The party labeling it a assassination. It's interesting that he says for him it's got nothing to do with politics. He doesn't believe it's got anything to do with politics. Personally, my ears kind of flicker when I hear of such things, and especially because we are now in that period that is the lead up to local government elections. We tend to see a spike in what are labeled political killings. I'm a little bit worried because in KZN, where they did have at some point a unit that focused particularly on political killings, that particular unit in KZN was disbanded, that task team, and I think people were concerned, and I think people will be concerned. We need to be quite vigilant. We see the inter-party violence a lot. We are discussing, of course, many other issues. We've spoken about Sundowns. I'm a little bit depressed. I was hoping for a win. I was hoping for celebrations at the airport. And we are speaking about Minister Nobuhle Nkabane. A lot of people not taking well to her behavior in Parliament last week and not accepting her explanation that she's taken to social media to tell us last night that the chair said that they could eat. Ma'am, that's not the problem. The problem is you didn't answer the questions that were put to you. 011-883-0702, 0727021702 for voice notes and WhatsApps.
Hello, Tshidi. For me, with the minister, I mean, overall not her not answering the questions, it's like we're looking at these young ministers act like, where is like our future ministers going to be like? Because here's a young woman who's a minister. We think that she will perform better, because we always complain that our ministers are old and all of that stuff. But here's a young minister behaving like she has no, like, it's so disappointing. It's so disappointing because she's young, like you can see. So yeah,
it's very disheartening to see somebody young behave with such like an air of impunity. such arrogance. Like, it sucks. That's not what you're looking for in the next generation of leadership. You want to see a change from what we have labeled uncaring leadership. That's what you want to see. A friend of mine had said, they believe one of these days she will not be able to set foot on any institutions of higher learning. In fact, looking at that committee, saying in that committee, if you look at it properly, only Lonzi of the EFF, who was a leader of the EFF Students Command, which has now been disbanded for something else, but he's the only person who actually has warm bodies, constituencies across universities in the country. Everybody else in that committee is old. That's another question for another day, I suppose. Cindy in Kagiso, hi.
Good morning, Tshidi. Tshidi, let me first congratulate you with the interviews that I saw you were making there in the US. I think you handled them very nicely. I was just so excited to watch you there. So thank you for that.
Okay, but it was just a job, Cindy. But okay.
Yeah, but you handled it so well. I'm grateful for that. Tshidi, you know, when you speak about Lonzi did ask the minister when he was introducing himself that, minister, don't eat. If you want to eat, go outside. We'll give you 5 minutes. So whatever explanation that she's making about her eating, and we caught it out of context and whatever, she's lying, because she was told. And if it was not Lonzi telling her that not to eat in that parliament, and she says the statement that she says it's not true. But there's a voice note that you've played. One gentleman said, you know, this is Cyril Ramaphosa's presidency. Cyril Ramaphosa's presidency, for me, it leaves a lot to be desired. He's becoming worse than Zuma. And nobody's holding Cyril Ramaphosa accountable. Not even one single vote of no confidence against Ramaphosa. It's so unfair. Ramaphosa, everybody's talking about Ramaphosa handling himself with Trump. For me, that's non-issue. What is happening in this country? They were glorifying crime, as if now genocide, because we are defending genocide, now we're glorifying crime. That's why we have ministers like this who can just simply say Google.
Yeah.
You know, it's Cyril Ramaphosa. Nobody's held accountable in Cyril Ramaphosa. And what is more disappointing with the GNU is that even the DA is no longer holding them accountable because they're in government together. So seriously.
Yeah, Cindy, you know what you're raising about the president, because it is an indictment on the president. They serve at the behest of the president. And so what he does in holding them accountable, even in the public domain, it's one thing to say, yes, the boards, that process had to be started over because of the president's intervention and how angry he is. But that's not communicated to us publicly, so you don't know what he is doing and not doing to hold these ministers accountable. The fact that he won't share those performance reviews with us is a massive problem for me. And the domestic issues are what matters. You've gone to the world, put on a global scale that there's a problem in the country of crime. Across the board, everybody accepts it. But what is the strategy? You come back. What is the plan to counter it? We're still in the dark about that. Those are very key issues about his presidency. Lindsay Dentlinger, one of the EWN politics journalists, often says one of the greatest losses is not having the DA in opposition, because it was effective, it did do the work, and would put solutions on the table. And I think that's what's been interesting about seeing the EFF's rise, is that the official opposition is often overtaken by events and by other parties. I mean, we're raising so many weird layered conversations and layered topics to try and unpack. But all of that, and I do think even the president must know, the performance of the ministers, that's an indictment on him. Absolutely. Thank you so much for that. Here are more of your voice notes.
Morning, City. It was total disrespect from the minister, with a mouthful of food, to respond, and not once, twice. In that clip, she had a mouthful of food responding to Parliament. And what she did is showed a total disrespect to us by not responding to the question. And that she thinks that she's not accountable to refer the question that was asked to Google and to go look at the encyclopedia for the answer to the question. That shows disrespect, disregard of a role as a minister to be accountable.
Tshidi, look at the pattern of all these younger generation of ministers or even political office bearers, from Kusela Diko to this minister now and this other one, Nkumbuzo Nshabeni. All of them have got this entitlement mentality that I just don't know where they get it from. So yeah, it's not only this young lady who is entitled. Most of these young ladies who are ministers think we owe them something.
Thank you for that. I don't know if it's young ladies. I don't know why ladies is being picked. I take great exception to ladies. There's a message that's come in here on the WhatsApp line that says, "Hi Tshidi, this minister Watella, by refusing to tell us who the secret panel of advisors on making appointments are, it can even be the Guptas capturing the country all over again. How can we, after the tragedy of state capture, accept that she refuses to tell us who's advising her to make appointments?" That's the thing. She went there and just refused to account. You can Google it, encyclopedia. And she doesn't then understand. When you look at her responses on social media last night, when the thread that she put out, she doesn't understand that she failed to actually be held accountable, to account not to those MPs, not to Sihle or the two Sihles, because there's also one there in that committee from the MKP, but to the country. You undermine all of us. It's that utter disregard that is the issue. Here are more of your voice notes.
Hello, Tshidi. Vusi here. What a disconsolation about the minister. Okay, we all understand that she's young and vibrant. She knows about these things. It's the convivial networks and stuff, platforms and whatever. How can she say Google when you're being asked a question, then you say Google it? Next time she's gonna be asked a question, then she's gonna say ask Starlink. We should be worried as a country. Thanks.
Thank you so much for that WhatsApp. Yeah, I think so. If you can't get the answers from those tasked with leading, then you must worry. And I want to reiterate this. I'm not saying that all ANC ministers are bad. I think we have some excellent ministers, even from the ANC. But this can't be acceptable. This behavior and the excuses as well are ridiculous, right? 011-883-0702 if you want to call in and weigh in on that. 072-702-1702 if you want to send a voice note or a WhatsApp on that. Sundowns. And we're speaking, of course, about the IFP, that tragedy over the weekend that they are calling an assassination of one of their MPs. Let's take a quick break.
For more about 702,
go to primemediaplus.com.
9:55, we're discussing a couple of topics. We're juggling a few topics in the air. We are speaking about Sundowns' defeat. Sundowns is going to the World Club Champion. Yeah? Right, Abel? Club World Cup. See, I was almost there. They're going there, so I'm hoping that the focus is there and we'll make up for our losses yesterday in that particular tournament. I think it's in the US. So we are chatting about that. We are speaking, of course, about the Minister of Higher Education. She's attempted to explain herself and her behavior in Parliament. Dr. Nobuhle Nkabane. A lot of people not convinced, people complaining about her arrogance. And of course, the story coming out of the IFP this weekend where one of their MPs was what they believe assassinated while in Katlehong. Here are some of your thoughts and voice notes that have come through.
Morning, Tshidi, the Minister of Higher Education. Wow. I know. It is shocking. It is appalling. You cannot hold yourself like that. Even when you are around people, never mind a professional setting. When you're sitting with friends, you cannot be doing that. That is just disrespectful. Like, it's just like they ask you questions and you tell people to Google the answer. What was the point of them asking you the questions? Like, the lady, no, man. She needs to be ashamed of herself wherever she is. And, like, honestly, these people keep scoring own goals and they're digging their own grave. The next elections, they will lose because of such stupid like such people, hey? Like, no, man.
Hi, Tshidi. Vic from Pretoria. The way the minister replied, it shows the attitude that the South Africans currently have. Most of the young people that are currently working or are in positions of power, whether private sector or government, they tend to have that kind of attitude, like an I don't care kind of attitude. And now we are seeing it at the highest level in South Africa, and this is wrong. But that's the attitude that is adopted by our young people when it comes to the workplaces. This is how they behave. It's just that we are seeing it on a higher office in the country, but this is what is happening to our young people. They tend to be unaccountable, and they have this I don't care attitude that is really, really, really rotten.
Morning, Tshidi. It's Kevin here. Look, I'm not really sure as to why you guys are actually surprised. I mean, that woman is just being herself. You know, the tradition of the ANC, I mean, just who they are. So I don't know why is it that you are surprised. This is actually just an ANC cadre at her best. You know, this is what they are good at. Nothing else. This is actually what they are good at. Corruption, arrogance, and disregard for the very position that they are appointed for. Thanks a lot for a great show. Tshidi, it's Kevin here.
Thank you for that, Kevin. I can't agree. I think we must always be shocked at unbecoming behavior. We must never tired calling it out. We must never make it acceptable to be like that among us. Aye, guys, we must hold ourselves to a different standard. But thank you so much for that input. I can't. That unsettles me. That I must just be like, no, I refuse. Thank you so much for that.